For decades, Eurobike has been a fixed point in the cycling calendar, the place to discover new models, meet partners and set the tone for the season. But this year the show faces a turning point. Two major industry associations, ZIV and Zukunft Fahrrad, have ended their cooperation with Eurobike. Why did they walk away? What happened wrong? And what happens next? Eurobike began in 1991 in a small southern German town of Friedrichshafen on the shores of Lake Constance. At the time, mountain bikes were booming and cycling was transforming from a niche sport into a mainstream lifestyle. Eurobike quickly became the meeting place for everyone in the business, from big international brands to tiny startups with wild ideas. Every September, journalists, retailers and fans would make the pilgrimage to Friedrichshafen to see the future of cycling, from the first carbon road frames to the earliest e-bikes. For nearly 3 decades, Eurobike was the world's leading bicycle trade fair, attracting visitors and exhibitors from more than 100 countries. But over time, the world around changed, and travel to Friedrichshafen, a beautiful but remote location, became harder to justify for global companies. After the pandemic, organizers made a big decision: to move Eurobike from Frankfurt am Main in 2022. A larger, more international city with better transport links and bigger halls. But that move also marked the beginning of new tensions. While the new location offered modern halls and better connections, it also changed the show's atmosphere. Some long-time exhibitors missed the more personal feeling of Friedrichshafen, while others questioned whether Eurobike was becoming too focused on technology and e-mobility rather than on bicycle themselves. Behind the scenes, differences began to grow between the organizers and the industry associations about what Eurobike should stand for in the future. Eurobike will return to Frankfurt next year, but after the pandemic, the location change, and the announcement of a new side event called Mobi Future, the show's own future is uncertain. Mobi Future is a new platform announced by Eurobike's organizers that's meant to focus on the broader world of electric mobility. Not just e-bikes, but also e-scooters, cargo vehicles, e-mopeds and even small electric cars. The idea is to connect the bicycle industry with the growing electric transport sector. On paper, it sounds like a natural expansion. But for many in the cycling community, it raised a big question. Is Eurobike still about bicycles? Or is it turning into an e-mobility expo? That uncertainty has become one of the main reasons behind the recent tension between the organizers and the industry associations. At the end of October, two key partners, ZIV, Fahrrad Industrieverband, and Zukunft Fahrrad, announced they would no longer support Eurobike. The decision sent shockwaves through the cycling world. Some called it overdue. Others feared it might fragment the entire industry. To understand what's at stake, let's look at the people behind the decision. ZIV, short for Fahrrad Industrieverband, is one of Germany's oldest and most influential cycling organizations. Founded nearly 140 years ago, it represents the manufacturing side of the bicycle industry. The companies that design, build and supply bikes, components and technology. Its members range from traditional bicycle makers to motor and electric giants like Bosch, who produce the drive system that power most modern e-bikes. ZIV acts as the industry's collective voice when it comes to regulations, technical standards and political advocacy, working with government ministries to shape policies on product safety, transport law and sustainability. Zukunft Fahrrad is a much younger organization founded in 2019. It represents the modern mobility sector, companies that focus less on producing bikes and more on using bikes as a service. Its members include bike leasing firms like Jobrad, sharing providers such as Nextbike, and digital mobility companies that integrate bicycles into smart city transport systems. In just a few years, it has grown rapidly, attracting over 100 members and becoming a key voice for the urban mobility transition, promoting cycling as a real alternative to cars in everyday life. Together, these two associations represent almost the entire European cycling ecosystem, from production and import to retail, service and innovation. They often coordinate closely with VSF, the Verbund Service und Fahrrad, Germany's Association of Independent Bicycle Retailers, which counts more than 300 members nationwide. When ZIV and Zukunft Fahrrad speak with one voice, they effectively speak for the heart of the European bicycle industry, manufacturers, retailers, and mobility providers alike. That's why the split from Eurobike isn't just a scheduling dispute. It's a signal of deeper disagreement about what the future of cycling and its bigger fads should look like. According to Dirk Zedler, founder of the Zedler Institute for Bicycle Technology and Safety, and board member of Zukunft Fahrrad, the warning signs have been there for years. In an interview with the German podcast Antritt, the Fahrrad podcast on Detektor FM in November 2025, Zedler said, "The gradual decline of Eurobike has been obvious to anyone who attended the fair in recent years. I was there myself for 5 days, and at times it was truly a sad sight to see how few people were walking through the halls." The move to Frankfurt was meant to be a fresh start, but instead attendance dropped and the energy faded. At the 2025 show, many halls felt half empty. Presentation meant for hundreds drew just a few listeners. Out of more than 300 retailers in a VSF network, Germany's Association of Independent Bicycle Dealers, only about 40 attended, which is roughly 15%. Zedler told Detektor FM that the fair no longer reflected the European bicycle industry. There were fewer local manufacturers and more large tech-heavy displays from Asian motor suppliers. The global exchange is great, but Eurobike should still feel like the European bicycle fair, not a gadget show. In a joint statement released shortly after the decision, Zedler added, "We did not make this joint decision lightly, and we very much regret that it became necessary. It's important that we now create clarity for everyone involved." Zedler also argues that too many unsafe or illegal products were displayed at Eurobike. For legitimate European manufacturers who invest heavily to meet EU safety rules, that's not just unfair, it's dangerous. Compliance means safety and fair competition. Earlier in 2025, the associations drafted a 10-point plan to steer Eurobike back on course. Number 1. Topic focus. Everyday cycling, leisure riding, and sport should all be given equal importance. No single theme should dominate the show. Number 2. EPA C25. Recognize the upcoming EPA C25 category. That's electric pedal-assisted cycles up to 25 km per hour, as an integral part of the active mobility, not as motorized transport. Changing customer behavior. Acknowledge that the market has shifted. Consumer expectations and buying habits are different now, and the fair must adapt to these new realities. Number 4. World's leading trade fair. European footprint. Keep Eurobike's identity as a world-leading event, but make sure its foundation remains European, reflecting the strength and innovation of Europe's cycling industry. Number 5. Format. Offer more flexible participation options for exhibitors. Not every company can afford massive stands. Smaller and more diverse formats are key. Number 6. Target group. Attract as many relevant and genuinely interested visitors as possible. Not just general traffic, but people who matter to the industry. Number 7. Presentation of related vehicles. Show connected mobility products like cargo bikes or light vehicles, but always in a context that keeps the bicycle at the center. Number 8. Duration. Reconsider the length of the fair. Find the right balance between trade visitor days and public days to make it worthwhile for everyone. Number 9. Trade fair program. Refresh the concept. Design a new program that focuses on future-oriented topics, innovation, sustainability, and real solutions for everyday mobility. Number 10. Political relevance. Make sure policymakers and public authorities see cycling as a core part of the future economy. The industry wants to be recognized not just as a lifestyle sector, but as a future industry that deserves political attention and support. In the interview, Dirk Zedler strongly supported the 10-point plan drafted by ZIV and Zukunft Fahrrad, saying it was the result of many discussions within the associations, and that it represented a constructive attempt to save Eurobike before walking away. The announcement from ZIV and Zukunft Fahrrad hit Eurobike's organizers hard. In Frankfurt, the joint venture Fairnamic, made up of Messe Frankfurt and Friedrichshafen Messe, released a statement. In light of this, we are surprised by the decision of the industry associations, as the dialogue between all parties was conducted in an objective and solution-oriented manner. Fairnamic stressed that they had already begun implementing several of the association's ideas before the split. Many of these suggestions were implemented immediately and have already been communicated. Amongst these are the adjustment of duration of the trade fair, the introduction of multiple options for exhibitors to contribute, as well as the realignment of the Congress program. They also pointed to the creation of a new advisory board, chaired by Stefan Kurzawski from Messe Frankfurt, to ensure different parts of the industry, manufacturers, retailers, and service providers would be represented in future planning. Additionally, an advisory board will be established with the involvement of Eurobike's different target audiences. Although Fairnamic's vision for the evolution of Eurobike, including new concepts like Mobi Future, was presented as a way to keep the show relevant for the next generation of mobility, a major update followed soon after. On Wednesday, 12 November 2025, Eurobike project director Stefan Reisinger announced the cancellation of the Mobi Future 2026 show. In 2026, our focus will be on Eurobike. That also means there won't be a separate Mobi Future next year. Reisinger added that Eurobike will remain open to everyone, shaping the future of mobility. The message was clear. The dedicated Mobi Future event is cancelled, but the show itself will continue to welcome every form of mobility, from bicycles to broader e-transport. But for the associations, these promises came too late. Dirk Zedler and others at Zukunft Fahrrad said the 10-point plan was in a list of demands. It was a roadmap for saving Eurobike that had been offered months earlier. When the organizers finally began to act, they felt the core issues were still being ignored. High exhibitor costs, unclear event timing, and an identity drifting from bicycles towards general e-mobility. In interviews, Zedler put it bluntly. We didn't just pull the plug. We invested a lot of work. We talked to many exhibitors. We put the 10 points on the table. All of them realistic. But when you see nothing changes, at some point you have to draw a line. The association saw the new advisory board and showed the trade fair schedule as positive gestures, but not enough to reverse the larger trend. As one Zukunft Fahrrad board members summed it up in their joint press release, we could not see that both operators were equally committed to supporting the measures that would be necessary to make the trade fair fit for the future of the bicycle industry. So what happens next? Eurobike 2026 will go ahead without ZIV and Zukunft Fahrrad as partners. Their members are still free to exhibit, as this isn't a boycott. However, the associations themselves won't invest time or resources into program planning. Instead, they're looking toward a complete restart in 2027. Several scenarios are already being discussed. The first option on the table is a new location. Since announcing their withdrawal, the associations say they've already received inquiries from several German trade fair cities, including Berlin, Düsseldorf and Leipzig among others, all interested in hosting a reimagined national cycling fair. The goal isn't just to move buildings, but to create a fresh identity, something easier to access, more connected to politics and media, and with room to grow alongside the evolving cycling scene. As Dirk Zedler put it in interviews, sometimes you have to leave old paths to find new ones. Another idea is to hold the event every 2 years, much like the IAA Mobility Show in Munich. A biennial rhythm could reduce financial pressure on exhibitors, allow for bigger, more meaningful launches, and make the fair feel special again. A true highlight in the cycling calendar rather than another annual obligation. This slower pace, the associations argue, would give companies time to prepare properly and make the event more sustainable both economically and environmentally. Timing is another key factor. In recent years, Eurobike repeatedly overlapped with Bundestag session weeks, meaning that high-ranking politicians from transport ministers to state leaders simply couldn't attend. For a sector that depends on government policy, that's a serious missed opportunity. Future editions could be strategically scheduled to attract not only political decision makers, but also international media, ensuring the fair once again influences mobility policy at a national level. The associations also want to bring the bicycle industry back together. In recent years, many large dealer groups like Biko, Tech and others have started hosting their own trade fairs, splitting attention and resources. A unified national event could reunite those efforts, offering one big stage where the entire ecosystem, from startups to established brands, meets under a single roof. Today, Eurobike stands at a crossroads. Organisers at Fairnamic say Eurobike will continue to grow as a bridge between cycling and e-mobility, expanding beyond bikes into electric transport, cargo solutions and smart mobility systems. The associations, meanwhile, want to bring the focus back to bicycles themselves. As Germany remains the heart of the European bicycle market, home to innovation, engineering and advocacy, few doubt that the world's most influential cycling fair will rise again, even if under a new name or in a new form. So as the industry looks toward 2027, one question remains. Will Eurobike reinvent itself, or will a new event take its place? Whatever the outcome, one thing is certain. The future of cycling and the community that drives it will continue to roll forward.